It felt so long since the Grand Galloping Gala, but it hadn't even been a month yet. So much had happened since then. Still, going to Randall's house for her first band practice felt like returning to a familiar routine. As Nathan pulled his car up in front of the house, Lyra saw the garage door open, and Randall standing there with another musician, who was tuning his own guitar. There was an unoccupied drum set behind them. He noticed her and waved. She grinned and ran up to meet him. Nathan stayed behind to get the amp out of the storage compartment in the back.
Hey, I was hoping you'd show up. Mike, this is Lyra. She's our new lead guitarist.
It's nice to meet you.
She seems a little young.
Yeah, she's... My mind just went blank. How old are you again?
16.
Right. I figured we just won't mention her age at any gigs and it shouldn't be a problem. And as long as she doesn't take drinks from anyone, we'll probably get away with it.
Alright.
Me and Mike started this band. Then we met Casey from one of the posters we put up. Same way you found us, right? Mike's our bassist, Casey's on drums. We couldn't really hope to get an actual gig until we got our lead guitarist, though.
Where is he anyways? We were supposed to start by now. You'd think a drummer would have better timing.
That's just it, though. He's the drummer. Don't mind him. Anyways, we've been working on a few songs. Covers, mostly. Stuff from the 80s, maybe early 90s. Old favorites, maybe you've heard them before. You'll have to put in some extra work to catch up, but you sounded good last time.
I'm a very fast learner.
Good to hear it.
I wonder why the other humans I've met don't have theirs. And shouldn't I have one myself? If I earned it when I was a filly? The placement makes some sense, the forearm instead of the back hip, because you can't usually see that on humans because of clothing. I wonder what Randall's talent is that got him a dragon mark like that.
Hey, Randall? Mind if I wait inside? How long is practice going to take?
Should be a couple of hours. You can watch some TV if you want to. Don't touch the fridge.
Fine with me. I'll see you later.
He told me earlier that he didn't want to drop me off here and abandon me. Why is he so nervous? I don't understand. But it is convenient, and I appreciate it.
Lyra slid the guitar case off her back and set up. There was a tangle of wires on the ground, and she stepped over them as she plugged her own guitar in. She played a few notes to try it out.
So, we've got our guitarist, I guess. When do we get a manager? We don't have a band until we've got a gig.
I'm working on that. For now, I've got a few contacts waiting, and we might be able to perform soon.
Satisfied with her guitar's sound, Lyra stood there wondering when they'd start, and what songs they'd do. That was a problem.
Hey, Randall, do you have any, sheet music? I'm not sure what you guys play.
You mean tabs? Oh, sure. Pretty sure I've got some in there somewhere. Let me go look for them.
While she waited in the garage, Mike didn't say anything to her. He pretended to take an interest in his bass, even though it was obviously ready and in tune. It was quiet, except for the low notes coming from his own amplifier. She wasn't sure whether to offer friendly conversation or not.
Here it is. We're working on a few things right now. You might have to practice on your own time to catch up.
Guitar tabs. That's what they call these. They aren't like regular sheet music, but a lot of the notation was exactly the same as in Equestria. That can't possibly be a coincidence any more than the countries and language being the same as what I read about in equestrian history. But for now, it's just convenient.
Outside, a dirty car that was probably blue once pulled up, making all kinds of weird rumbling noises. It made Nathan's car look fancy by comparison, even though he tended to joke about what a mess it was. Another human got out from the front seat, a blonde male with some scraggly facial hair. He jogged up to the garage to join them.
Casey! Finally made it, did you?
Who's she? Your kid sister? Crazy hair, by the way.
Our new guitarist.
You serious? Nah, who's she really?
I'm Lyra. I can't wait to perform with you guys.
Look, I know we're getting desperate, but she's a kid.
I do have professional experience.
So you've told me. You'll understand once you hear her, Casey. Now let's get started already. I've been dying to get back to practice ever since I got off work.
Sure, whatever. Let's just get going.
Other than Randall, this band almost seems as standoffish as the other musicians at the gala had been. I'm getting a bad case of deja vu.
That is until they started into the first song. She'd just seen the guitar tabs, but she could understand how it sounded. The riffs were simple enough, with the same few chords repeated throughout the whole song. Once they finished, all the humans were silent. The final note seemed to reverberate in the garage for a long time. Maybe that was just the echo.
That was your first time with that one?
Yeah, I think I got lost somewhere around the second verse. Can we try again?
Whoa, where did you find this one?
Randall gave a glance to the other two musicians, as if to say, I told you so. Then he counted them off to start again.
3, 2, 1.
Practice lasted for a few hours. It hardly felt like any time at all. Rock music was pretty short, catchy, and high energy. It was nothing like the droning classical pieces that Lyra had always performed in Canterlot. Complex but often forgettable. She was back in Nathan's car, heading back. It was still hard to get used to this fast motion in the vehicle that was propelling itself somehow. Lyra was doing better than her first time, though. Like all other human things, it just took some getting used to. She reminded herself that she'd never seen one of these go spiraling out of control like the apple cart had, but it was all too easy to imagine.
I texted Audrey back there, asked if we could do something out for dinner. To celebrate, I guess. But to be honest, I'm just bored. And my parents don't really care what time I'm home.
That sounds fun!
They stopped in front of Audrey's house just long enough for Nathan to go to the door and pick her up. And then they headed to what the humans had called the mall. Lyra had told them that she'd never been to one before, but they were used to hearing that from her by now. They pulled into an open space filled with other humans' cars. Lyra was the first one out of the cramped vehicle, as relieved to be out of the cramped seat as she was interested in where they were now. The building was huge. It rivaled Candlelight Castle. It even made the humans' own Capitol building seem tiny. And once they'd entered, the sights took Lyra's breath away. This one structure had tons of small shops, more than all of Ponyville. It was enough to impress a Canterlot pony, well, a Canterlot girl, with all of the selection. Nathan was just amused at Lyra's wide-eyed stare. He and Audrey both acted like they were used to this place, as unaffected by the sights and sounds as they were by all the other amazing things in their world.
Chinese good with you?
I'm feeling more like sushi, actually. The Chinese place here isn't that good. I actually might have gotten food poisoning the one time I tried it.
Yeesh. Well, it looks like we're being fancy today.
I'm fine with anything, pretty much, but there's no,
They've got a few vegetarian options, unless you eat fish. I know some vegetarians make an exception for that.
No. I'll just stick to the vegetables.
They passed a florist and a salon on the way there.
This place really does have everything. It kind of reminds me of the flower stand that Roselick works at on market days, or Aloe and Lotus's beauty shop that I've been to a few times with Bonbon.
The restaurant was on the second floor in front of a balcony. There were more levels of stores above and below them, all packed with humans. Lyra leaned over the rail to look down at the tiled mosaic floor, with the sun from the skylight above their heads shining down on it.
You coming?
Oh!
Good news for you, the vegetarian options are actually cheaper than the regular ones. I might even go for that.
Regular. It's normal for humans. Will I ever get used to that? It's still hard to accept that most humans do choose to eat meat. They know exactly where it comes from, but there are plenty of animals that eat meat. They have to sustain themselves, just like other animals might eat plants or gemstones.
They placed their orders at the counter. Lyra was getting really good at talking to humans. Not too long ago, even being near one would make her mouth go dry. Now it was just an everyday thing. She was feeling like she fit in here. They sat down at one of the tables. Even though the mall was crowded, this restaurant's seating was all available.
So, how are things going with that band? You seem to be in a good mood.
It's great! Randall said we'll be doing covers. That means we're doing songs that other bands wrote. I didn't realize bands wrote their own music. Do most of them do that?
The good ones do. The ones that get famous.
He said that his original stuff wasn't any good, though. I just think it sounds hard. Writing music and playing it? You'd really have your hands full with that, don't you think?
I guess so. I thought I heard Guns N' Roses back there.
You know that one? Everything we're working on is completely different from songs I've practiced before. A lot louder, but I don't really mind. I think the other band members have been practicing them longer than I have, but I'll just work extra hard back home.
Yeah, about those band members.
Everyone in the band is really nice, but I'm the youngest one there. I was kind of surprised, actually.
Most kids our age would be focused on school.
Right.
They were all in their 20s, it looked like. I'm amazed Randall even let you join in the first place.
I guess I'm usually younger than the other musicians I play with. It's always been that way. The musicians at the gala had been older than me by a few years. Plus, they'd had seemed like regulars to the event. Still, these humans are what, 6 or 7 years older than me? It didn't seem like that much of a difference.
Right. The young musical prodigy with the mysterious past.
She opened up a thin paper wrapper and took 2 long wooden sticks out of it. Lyra nearly forgot how hungry she'd been as she watched Audrey move her fingers expertly and pick up the pieces of food with them.
What are those?
I think this one's an avocado roll.
No, I mean the things you're using to pick them up.
Chopsticks.
I've never been able to get the hang of them myself. Too much of a hassle. And they give you forks anyway.
Lyra didn't hear him. She was concentrating on the complicated movement of Audrey's hands. This was a challenge, and it looked like so much fun. She glanced down at her plate, searching around the edges. There, she had one of those paper wrappers too, so she tore it open and took them out. She snapped them apart at the top and held them up to her face, examining them intently.
Have you ever used them before? Actually, you know what? That's a stupid question, isn't it? I'm guessing not.
I've never seen anything like this.
She tried to figure out how to hold them. Audrey made it seem so easy. There was no secret in their design, it seemed. They were just smooth wooden sticks. Humans had designed them as a test of skill or something, a way to show off their dexterity. It was the only explanation Lyra could think of.
Getting a little intense there, Lyra.
She said nothing. Her entire concentration was on these little wooden sticks, trying to figure out how to fit them into her fingers without dropping them, and then trying to pick things up with them. It was almost impossible.
You do have a fork, you know that, right?
I've been using forks all my life. This is something new.
Here, put the first one like this, and then only move the second one.
Singling out one of the pieces of sushi, Lyra attempted to pick it up. It fell out. A few more times without any better results. Then, leaning her face in, she was able to lift it up into her mouth.
Nice work.
Got it. What exactly is this?
I think it's just avocado and cucumber. Oh, and seaweed. That's not a problem, right?
No, I've never eaten seaweed before, though. Where did they get it? Is there an ocean near here?
Oh, I wish. I was about as landlocked as you can get.
And that's where we are! Obviously.
Of course. Lyra, you do know where we...
I was just kidding. Of course I know where we are. I'm not that clueless. Iowa, though? Word sounds familiar. Maybe humans had mentioned it a few times. It must be a smaller region in France. I haven't looked at a map in a while, but I remember France having some ocean coasts. Des Moines must be somewhere inland then. It isn't easy to just go up and ask for a map without any good reason, though. They'd already noticed I'm not like them.
She went back to trying to use her chopsticks, picking up a piece, lifting it almost all the way up to her mouth before it slipped and dropped back on the plate.
Horse apples!
What was that?
Oh, nothing, Dip. Was nothing.
What do your parents think of Lyra staying for so long? I mean, she's been there for, what, over a week now?
They seem okay with it. They like me, don't they?
Well, yeah. They've definitely gotten used to you. I'm sure that it helps that you're always offering to help around the house. Helping out in the garden now and then seems to make up for all the loud guitar music.
I do like to work with my hands. Chores hardly feel like work. They're just another opportunity to see how humans got by without magic. And it turned out they do pretty well. It's all of their tools, some of which are recognizable from Equestria. Though it is obviously a lot easier to use a garden trowel when you can grip the handle properly.
Sweet. Are they paying you?
Well, yes. But the money isn't why I do it. Honestly, I was surprised when they'd offer to pay me for my help, but I did accept it.
It's practically like she's always lived here at this point.
have to admit, she does have a point. I've been here so long, it's starting to feel less like some strange other world and more like, well, home. And yet, I still feel like I need to find out who I am or where I came from. If that's even possible. Audrey had found Randall's house on that computer somewhere. Why can't they find my parents?
Returning to her food and these fascinating wooden sticks, she worked on picking up another piece. Glancing at the others' plates, she realized they were already done.
Looks like we'll be here for a while. By all means, take all the time you need, Lyra.
I'll get the hang of these sticks eventually.
Practice went on as usual every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Those were the days when all the other band members' work schedules didn't conflict, according to Randall. On each of those days, Nathan would show up, Lyra would gather everything into her bag, and head out with her guitar on her back. Her journal was still inside. If Audrey or her parents happened to find it lying around, there would be too much explaining to do. Better to just keep it close. And she was still taking notes in there. She just filled up an entire page on how to use chopsticks. On this particular day, she was the last one at practice. Mike and Casey were already in the garage setting up, but Randall was nowhere to be seen. Lyra checked the tuning on her guitar, plugged it in, and played a few chords to test it out. Setting up in Randall's garage for practice had already started to feel natural. Sure, it didn't compare to a fancy stage, especially not the one at Canterlot Castle, or even a normal practice room, but she was surrounded by humans here. That more than made up for it. She took one of the songs that Randall had given her out of her bag to read it over. They were working on several different pieces at once.
Well, everyone, I just got off the phone. We're set to play at a music festival in 2 weeks. Told them we'd just play what we've been working on, and that was that.
Seriously? That's cutting it close.
Lyra, I'll really need you to double time it. This thing's coming up fast, but you've got talent. Mike and Casey, good work so far, but we could be better. We can always get better.
Sure, guess so.
Now, same songs we worked on last time. Let's get them perfect. We might actually get paid for this, so no slacking off.
Paid performance? I know that Randall had been said he'd been trying to get us in somewhere, but I hadn't been expecting it to be so soon. The idea of being back on stage again, in front of an audience of humans, no less, is incredible! Even if I've been expecting it to happen at some point.
Starting off with Highway to Hell, then. 3, 2, 1.